Bed. Love.
Bed.
Bed.
Love.
Beyond.
Beyond.
Bed, love, beyond. Bed, love, beyond.
What's going on, everybody? This is Bed Love Beyond, the podcast for the hopeful and the hater in us to discuss sex, love, and whatever's clever with like-minded people like you who are also in limbo with love like us. And thank you for listening to us on Podbean, iTunes, Pocket Cast, Stitcher, and Google Play Music. Please rate, review, like, and subscribe to any one of the devices that you listen to. And obviously, you can see that I did the whole introduction to myself. Jennifer can't be on today's episode, but she will be on the next episode next week. So please don't fret. I know you love to hear Jennifer. So the episode today is episode 63, Beauty and the Geek. Do opposites attract? And since we don't have Jennifer here to discuss about this, we do have a special guest, and his name is Dr. NerdLove, a.k.a. Harris O'Malley. How you doing, Harris?
Hey, everybody. I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm fine. And I just wanted to let people know that I've gone on your website a couple of times just because I've just read other articles that would reference your articles, and I'm like, okay, let's see what this guy's talking about. And I'm just reading your things, and like I went into like some sort of like rabbit hole and just kept reading, and I was just like, man, this guy's really good. I need to have him on the show for something. So like this episode is pretty much tailor made for you. So because I really need...
I love hearing the whole rabbit hole thing. I try to make everything kind of link into each other so that people kind of get drawn into it.
Yeah, no, it's like your stuff is great. I really like it a lot. And also, I saw that you have 4 books out, or 3?
4 at this point.
Okay, can you tell us about the latest one?
Yeah, sure. The most recent one is called "It's Dangerous to Go Alone: A Relationship Survival Guide," and it's one. My other books have been for finding relationships, getting better at dating, how to become the sort of person who people want to date. And It's Dangerous to Go Alone is for people who are specifically in relationships, whether they have just started one and want to kind of future-proof their relationship, or if they're in a long-term relationship and want to deal with a lot of the common issues that come up, especially the longer you've been together.
Oh wow. Okay, so your last book doesn't necessarily have to do with geeks. It's just people in general.
And there's a definite geek angle to it.
Yeah.
But it's all my stuff kind of relates to everybody as best I can. Although geeks, I found, tend to need a lot of the most help because we tell ourselves stories about how we're undesirable, or about how only certain people can love us, or how because we get into this weird nominative determinism where because we're a geek we can't possibly have social skills or what have you.
No. Thank you for bringing that up, because I consider myself a geek, like a hardcore geek, and mostly like comic books and stuff, but very varied towards like video games too and stuff, but mainly comic book things. And I have most certainly said those things to myself, or just through with experience. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go for that person, and then it doesn't happen because there's a they're just not into the same stuff as I am, or they make fun of the things that I'm in, and I'm just like, oh man, like am I ever gonna find somebody like-minded like myself? So that's really cool that you have that in book form.
Thank you.
So pretty much this is to talk about do opposites attract, and especially on the geek end of it. And you just said that the geeks do have a tendency to downplay themselves. Like, why do you think that we do that? And we think that we're not really made for love?
Honestly, I think we bought into our own mythology of the downtrodden geek that's been around really pretty much since we started kind of recognizing geekdom at all. Whenever you want to say that, 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever. Yeah. And we have a hard time acknowledging that, especially in this day and age, we kind of won. I mean, we are basically in charge of everything now, We literally have control of our pop culture. I mean, there's a reason why all of these 80s properties are suddenly getting these massive revivals.
Right.
And it's because we all got old enough to the point that we're in positions of power to greenlight these projects.
Yeah.
We've got Silicon Valley ruling our entire lives, and we've, for all intents and purposes, we're top of the social heap. But we also still want to maintain that weird little mythology of, oh, we are so downtrodden, we are looked down upon by the other, whoever the other may be, whether it's jocks, whether it's girls, the popular girls, or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard for people to sometimes let go of that and acknowledge that the things that we're into are not exclusively ours. I mean, the top 20 highest grossing movies of all time on IMDb.
Yeah.
If you go through and you just count through them, you're going to get, what, 3 that aren't geek properties, that aren't Star Wars, Harry Potter, Pirates of the Caribbean, Marvel.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Half the shows on the CW are DC shows or based off of other comic books.
Yeah.
Netflix, everybody's talking about the Marvel's Netflix universe.
Right.
We are everywhere. We have taken over things. We are basically the social gatekeepers now.
Mm-hmm.
But we still act like we're persecuted or that we're unlovable because we're geeks. And more often than not, I joke that I need a macro that'll post the GIF from the social network that says, you're going to go through life assuming that people don't like you because you're a nerd, and I'm here to tell you that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
It's because you're an asshole.
Right. Right. Oh man, that's so true, because you are most definitely proving your point. But the thing is, I always tend to look at it like, okay, especially with the Marvel audience, there is the reason why Marvel has gotten so big in movie aspects anyways, because of the mainstream. Because a lot of people, if it was just the geeks and stuff like you and I, or the nerds, those movies would not make even a quarter of the money that they're making. They would not cross $1 billion. But the thing is that how I take it is okay, we all go in loving these movies, but then we all come out and then go back to our sectors. Okay, I'm still the geek when I leave, but those jocks who came in and we're, giving each other high fives because Hulk is smashing, he'll leave and still be a jock and still get all the jock perks and all that stuff, and we still won't be on the same level.
Well, I think part of it is because we still have a tendency to self-segregate that way, and we don't acknowledge that, we are all multifaceted, and we all have these various, sometimes seemingly contradictory sides. Mm-hmm. Those jocks are also the ones who are buying up copies of Call of Duty and playing multiplayer all the damn time. And there are a lot of nerds who are really deep into sports, too. I mean, fantasy football is Dungeons and Dragons by any other name.
Yeah. Yep. Yes, very true. But don't tell them that, or they'll get mad. Oh, that's not the same. That's pretty funny. Do you? Well, okay. So I titled this episode "Beauty and the Geek," and that was a riff off the 2005 show created by Ashton Kutcher about obviously beauty and geeks, trying to come together in this reality competition, kind of those real world road rules type things. And I used to watch that religiously. It was pretty funny. But
I loved that show.
I'm sorry?
I loved that show.
Yeah, that was a good show. So with Beauty and the Geek and King of the Nerds and Big Bang Theory, and also Geek Love, which was on a short-lived show which was on MTV about geeks finding love through Comic-Con. What do you think about the way geeks and nerds are represented in the media? Are we always seen as just one facet?
I think the problem with shows like King of the Nerds and whatnot is that they go for and especially with Big Bang Theory, which I have a lot of issues with.
A lot of people do.
Yeah. They show very specific stereotypes that really haven't changed since the Revenge of the Nerds movies back in the 80s.
Right.
And nerds and geeks are of all different stripes and colors and, interest and look very different ways and engage in very different things. And honestly, one of the best representations of the diversity in geekdom that I've ever seen is a Japanese manga series called Genshiken.
Oh, okay.
And it was about a geek pop culture club in high school, and the people who are involved in it are from different stripes. There's one guy who is very much like in any other story would be like the cool main character, but he loves geeky stuff. He especially loves like the Puyo Pop video games.
Mm-hmm.
There's a woman who loves cosplaying, and she ends up dating a guy who likes making the costumes for her.
Yeah.
There's one guy who's very stereotypical, nerdy, maybe on the spectrum kind of look, rail skinny, glasses, bad haircut.
Right.
Who ends up having a pretty deep emotional relationship with one of the popular girls.
Mm-hmm.
And that one of the things I liked about it was just like how very different all of these characters were. And how it's much more reflective, amusingly enough, of the way that geeks can be in America, where you can get, you will find the stereotype high water pants, thick rim glasses, turn sideways, disappear kind of nerd, but they tend to be more hipsters these days.
Right.
But also you're going to find a lot of women who love writing fanfic, who love cosplaying, or who love doing art. And you're going to find guys who love video games but also love sports,
mm-hmm.
and who like playing sports,
mm-hmm.
or people who are into martial arts and also into geekdom, or doing more active things like SCA or historical European martial arts.
Okay.
If we can see more of that kind of representation, and then you even get stuff like one show that I think that really does well in terms of more nerd culture than geek culture, because it's more about hacking, is Mr. Robot.
Okay, yeah. I've heard of it. I've never watched it, but I heard it's critically acclaimed.
Yeah, it's really good, and you get the same random assortment of very different types, from the old school phone freakers who grew up cutting their eye teeth on 2600 in the 80s.
Yeah.
To a couple of characters who would not be out of place in the movie Hackers, to people like the main character, Elliot, who is basically kind of the skinny hoodie-wearing, keeps to himself kind of guy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So you were talking about how there should be more representation when it comes to geeks, but what about the more I guess traditional forms? Which one I mean is well, first, how do you feel about alphas and betas? Do you think they exist, and do you think there can be a such thing as an alpha geek? Because geeks are usually known as meek and stuff like that. So what do you feel about alphas and betas? Do they exist, and can there be an alpha geek?
I think alpha and beta is something that people really need to let go of, because even the guy who coined the term alpha and beta when he was talking about wolf packs,
mm-hmm.
freely admits he got it wrong, because he was observing wolf packs in zoos.
Okay.
And that's like trying to determine human society by looking at people in jail.
Ah, okay.
So, wolves form family units. They don't have alphas and betas. They have mother, father, and children.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
When you take a bunch of different wolves together and shove them all into, who are not related, and shove them all together and into an enclosed community, you end up with fights for dominance, because there is no family structure there.
Right.
So I think a lot of people took the idea of alpha and beta as just... It's very tempting to want to sum up human sexuality in a way that could fit on a bumper sticker. Because telling people that, oh, hey, attraction and relationships are really nuanced doesn't sell a lot of books.
Yeah.
But, so, no, you're going to have... And part of the problem is nobody can agree what is alpha and what isn't alpha. I mean, if you want to talk about, primate social structures... Mm-hmm. Chimpanzees, the dominant male of a chimpanzee troop keeps his position through murder. So I guess unless you're saying that if you want to get women while you're at the club to kill the other people talking to her, then I guess you could say that's being alpha. But
right.
Who's more alpha? The guy who has lots of one-night stands but can't keep a relationship, or the guy who's only slept with maybe 3 people in his life, but has a 20-year loving relationship with someone that, their passion for each other is just as strong as the day they met?
Right.
Like, who's got the more alpha job, the DJ or the CEO? There are so many random ways to describe it that it's kind of meaningless. I mean, you're going to have people who are more dominant personalities or more outgoing personalities, and people who are more retiring or more submissive or shy. But that doesn't mean that they are more likely or less likely to get dates, get laid, whatever.
Yeah.
So I do think that nerds, especially guy nerds, have this tendency to want to prove themselves. Sometimes it's just like they get over enthusiastic. It's like, oh, you love this thing, I love this thing. Let me spew all these things that I love, and maybe you'll love them too. And I want to show you that I love them, and look how awesome I am for loving them. And then other times you get the guys who are like, you couldn't possibly like this because you're a girl. Here, prove this to a standard that nobody else I know has to meet.
Right. Yeah. The plight of the geek girl, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing I keep trying to tell people is that fake geek girls don't exist. Nobody wants to impress us that much. There are people who don't know as much as you, or who may be new to their fandom.
Yeah.
But they're not fake.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I love all the stuff that you're saying. Which makes me want to ask you, why did you start this? You have your website and you have your books. What made you decide hey, I have an opinion on something and I want to share my experiences and teach guys or girls, how to do or not to do something? Basically,
I set out trying to create the advice that I wish that I had had when I was 12, 13, 16, 25. I want other people to have, especially guys, because I think men are under-resourced when it comes to dating advice that isn't really, I hate to use the word problematic, but it fits.
Yeah.
That isn't based around a lot of crap like the pickup artist community or
yes.
the red pill.
Yes.
And so I was deep in the pickup community for a while until I finally left it. And there were some things that I thought were valuable and useful, but a lot of it was wrapped up in a whole mess of toxic bullshit and just mistaken ideas about female sexuality, male sexuality, ideas about who is attracted to what.
Yeah.
And a lot of it really came down less to here's how to be someone that other people would be interested in dating, and here's how to express yourself, and more along the lines of here's how you manipulate or pressure people, or put up a fake persona that other people would find appealing because women are all exactly like the women you're going to meet in a Los Angeles nightclub, I guess.
Right.
And I wanted to provide useful information that kind of not only provided an alternative to that, but taught people how to be better men without absorbing all of these really toxic and harmful ideas about masculinity and what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman, and whether your value is based on how many people you slept with or haven't slept with. And there's just so many things that just make men miserable, and we do it to ourselves.
Yeah,
and trying to counteract a lot of that is sort of the impetus for my book and for all my books and for my podcast and for my blog.
No, I totally understand it, and thank you for mentioning the pickup artist book. I remember a couple of years ago. I was definitely in a rut. I was and am, still a geek and, just not, getting, success with women and stuff. And then I guess my birthday was coming around or whatever. And a friend of mine got me a gift, and I was like, oh, what's this? And I unwrap it, and it's The Game. And I'm like, what? And he's like, it's The Game, man. It's the pickup artist thing. This is the number one selling book on this subject. And I'm like, okay. And I started reading it, and I was like, do I have to do this? Do I have to be this person and be manipulative and stuff just so I can have another notch on my belt? So in trying to find myself, because, we're all, I guess especially geeks, we're very reflective. And I was just again, like I said before at the top of the episode, I was like looking at articles, and I would like look at your stuff, and I'm like, oh man, like this guy gets it, and it's not it's not from like a pickup artist angle, like, hey, you need to be this guy and like F women, and blah blah blah. It's like, no, you're a geek. Learn to love being a geek, and this is how you're going to do it. And I really really appreciate like the existence of like your material.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I like it a lot. So with some of the articles that I was reading, because the ones that interest me were like what bad boys know that nice guys don't, and like being a nice guy isn't good enough, and like how to handle like deal breakers. Like I like loved all those, and I wanted to get down to some of the specifics of like the articles. Like, let's say for the nice guy, what do you think about the quote unquote nice guy? Because I know you did an article about it.
Yeah, most of the time, nice guys, when we're talking about it, like, I try to differentiate between guys who are good versus who are good people versus nice guys with a capital N and the capital G.
Right.
Because there's a difference. It's Sondheim. Nice is different than good.
Yes.
But the nice guy is the person who does the sort of thing that I call the platonic best friend backdoor gambit,
yeah.
where you're not actually being honest with a person about how you feel. You're being their friend in air quotes because you're looking for your window of opportunity of building yourself up with them so that then they might eventually date you. Okay. And it's the whole, like, giving enough kindness coins until you can pull the arm and then sex falls out.
Okay.
And a lot of people do this. I mean, honestly, I did this a lot, especially in high school.
Yeah,
and it's a horrible thing to do, especially to someone who, like, thinks that you're legitimately their friend. They're being open and vulnerable with you in a way that they wouldn't if they knew that you had this agenda.
Okay.
And all that happens is that you get people who end up being really hurt and upset because this person they thought was their friend has just been sitting there biding their time, waiting for their window of opportunity, and that's a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
And that's the part of the problem, is that they don't do what the so-called bad boys do. And honestly, bad boys tend to be defined as the guy who got with the girl that I liked more than anything else. And part of what they did was that, oh, hey, you know why he got the girl you had a crush on and you didn't? Because he asked her.
Right. Yeah. And the way that you say it, and you're not even being like dickish about it too. You just literally said the truth, because I'm sure, like, and I definitely know because I lived it. It's super hard. It really is. Like, I mean, people say, no, just ask her, man. She's right there. And you're like, no, because if I ask her, I'll die.
Yeah, it's a fear. I mean, it's understandable fear. We fear rejection, and rejection does cause physical pain. But but we build it up so much in our heads that it becomes this mythical thing that we can't get past.
Yeah.
Whereas if you were just to go up and say, hey, would you be interested in going out on a date with me? Yeah, it's going to suck if they turn you down.
Yeah.
But now it's over. It was quick. It's like ripping off a Band-Aid. Now you're free to move on, find someone who does want what you have to offer. Whereas if you're staying around, you're just waiting for this moment, and you're making so much of this time you have where it's just like, I can't ask now because it's not the perfect moment, or because this, that, or the other thing, and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're falling into what's called the sunk cost fallacy, where you've put so much time in that you don't feel like you can admit that it was time wasted and give it up. So now you're even more invested in getting a yes out of them, but that means you're going to be even more invested in not asking them because you want to wait for it to be perfect, and so the cycle just makes it worse and worse. Okay. An object it's inertia. An object at rest tends to stay at rest, and that includes people.
So going back to the nice guy thing, because like you admitted that you used to do that. I do that, but I don't see it as so villainous, because I'm not necessarily doing it like, all right, I'm going to bide my time and stuff. It's just that I believe, and of course I could be wrong, please correct me if I am. It's just that I believe that women will want you to be friends first before they think of you in a romantic setting or a romantic, way. So aren't you necessarily, quote unquote, doing the right thing by saying, hey, let's, let me be friends with you until the time is right to ask you, hey, do you want to date, or do you think that we should just say it from the top?
Well, let me put it to you this way. Do you have any female friends that you've had for a while, and if they suddenly ask you on a date, you'd feel kind of weird about it because, like, you've been friends for this long and you've never felt that way about them?
Yeah.
Same thing, just in the other way.
Right.
I mean, now, to be fair, like, it's not like everybody who's been friends with someone of their preferred gender is waiting around for their moment. Sometimes, feelings do happen that weren't there before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That happens a lot, and that's natural.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, it's not that women prefer to be friends first. It's that they want someone that they can be friends with. It's more, it's not just a case of like, sure, there are a lot of times women are going to just want somebody they have this pure animal attraction with. But for the most part, when they want a relationship with someone, they want a relationship with someone that they feel comfortable with, they can be emotionally intimate with and open with.
Mm-hmm.
And that, when someone says, I'm, dating my best friend or whatever, they mean they have that kind of open, easygoing relationship with them. It doesn't mean that, like, the path to a relationship with a person is through friendship first.
Right.
There are a lot of people out there, men and women and non-binaries all, who are what are known as demisexual, whereas they don't feel sexual attraction until they feel an emotional connection first.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, it's a lot better to be upfront and honest with your interest in someone than it is to be friends and then try to judo flip that friendship into a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible, but it's difficult.
Yeah.
And it only happens under pretty specific circumstances, because once someone sees you as a friend, it is very hard to switch that if there isn't already an attraction.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it can be done. I've done it. But it's one of those times of like, okay, but it's like the difference between playing pickup basketball and pro ball.
Right. So with that, because you're saying that it needs to be upfront, or like you'll just be very hard to get out of, which leads us to the whole question of like the friend zone stuff. Do you believe that the friend zone exists, or it's just a mythological place that geeks and people who can't get chicks have made up?
I think the friend zone doesn't exist. It's the friend zone is just a way of saying that this person doesn't want to date or have sex with me.
Ah.
It is not like when people talk about the friend zone, they talk about it like it is something that is being done to them.
Okay.
They are saying it as though it's like, oh no, she put me in the friend zone. It's like, no, she didn't. She's just your friend. The only person who put anyone in the friend zone is you, because you don't want to be friends with her, or rather, you don't want to have a platonic relationship with her. You want to date her, but you're not leaving. So you're doing this to yourself. It's not like she's trying to keep you on the hook. And so you have the power to leave the friend zone. It just means that you have to leave that person.
Right.
Like, unless you want a genuine platonic relationship. And that's the other problem I have with talking about the friend zone, is that it treats friendship as the poor man's prize. The movie prize you get as consolation for not, getting all up in them guts. And that's one of the things that, like, I say it in a few of my, like, headlines when I talk about that sort of thing, but I really don't like the idea of referring to a friendship as just friends, because that implies that that relationship is somehow lesser than if you were lovers.
Okay.
And yeah, for a lot of people, their platonic friendships are going to be more important and more meaningful than the people they sleep with.
Okay. Wow. Well, that's pretty good. So I saw this. I think. Oh no. or maybe it was the topic of one of your articles, but it said being a nice guy isn't good enough, and I think it was connected to your podcast, which was like to be the Zen of good enough. Can you please elaborate on that?
Well, the thing with the nice guy is not enough is about the same. It's sort of along the same material with what nice guys don't know that bad boys do.
Yes,
is that being nice is. Being someone who, he doesn't harass women, he doesn't send people unsolicited dick pics. That's
right.
the bare minimum standard.
Yeah.
You don't get a cookie for meeting minimum expected standards.
Right.
That's one of the things I have. There's a character who's become sort of the unofficial mascot of my blog, and his name is Grimes.
Okay.
And he is a toxic waste kaiju. And on the site we have what I call the Grimes test.
Yeah, it was so funny. I kind of wanted to take it, but I didn't know how. I didn't get it. So yeah, please explain that.
So the Grimes test is fairly simple. It's it's here's Grimes. Grimes is a kaiju. He's pretty cute as far as 50-foot tall piles of sentient toxic waste go. He's got a good attitude. He's got a good job. He's got a place of his own. But he doesn't really have a life outside of work. Now, he's never hit a woman in his life. He's never sent unsolicited pictures. He's never creeped on anyone. He's never stalked or harassed or hit anyone. And he's always respectful of other people's boundaries. So, what do you have going for you that Grimes doesn't have? Because Grimes is the baseline. He is the bare minimum.
Yeah.
So why would a woman want to date you
more than him?
Grimes?
Right. Okay.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to reach some arbitrary standard.
Yeah.
It's not just a case of you have to be this accomplished in order to ride the ride. It's you have to have things going for you besides just being a nice guy. And that may be that you play guitar really well and you sing in a way you do that, you really move people. Or you may be a really funny guy, you tell jokes and people feel great hanging around you. Or you may live this life of adventure and people love hearing the stories about the crazy things you got up to. You have to have reasons for why people want to spend time with you. Beyond just, well, I'm nice. Okay, cool. Pizza is nice.
Right. But what toppings do you have?
And that's one of the things because that also ties into when I tell people, here's how you date outside of your league. Well, there is no such thing as your league. There is just people who like what you have and who don't. And so either they like what you bring to the table, and for some people that may be looks. For some people that may be money. Money is great for attracting women who are attracted to money.
Right.
But for other people, it may be that they do things that women find really appealing. I mean, one of the ones that I always go to is Jeffrey Arend, who was he was a writer, he's a comedian, he was the Snosberries Taste Like Snosberries dude on Super Troopers.
Okay.
He is not the most conventionally attractive looking guy.
Yes.
And he's married to Christina Hendricks.
I know. When I saw that, I was like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, and it's not that his looks didn't get him there, his money didn't get him there. It's that she really likes how he makes her feel. He makes her laugh. He makes her feel special.
Yeah.
That's why she's attracted to him, and that's the thing that I want people to cultivate. I want you to cultivate your thing. That is why people like you and why they like to spend time with you. And it's not about looks. It's not about money. It's not about your job. It's about how you make people feel. If people are your friend, if people like to spend time with you, if people have fun with you, then they're going to prioritize their relationship with you. It's called the reward theory of attraction.
Okay. Because
they feel good in your presence, they're going to want to spend more time with you. They're going to prioritize their time with you. So finding the way that makes people feel good in your presence is how you get more people interested in you. I mean, it's not just, you can't just joke your way into somebody's pants by telling stand-up jokes.
Right.
But the more that you have to offer, the more that you have reasons why people like to be with you, the more time they're going to want to spend with you, and the more time they spend with you, the more appealing they're going to find you, and more they're going to want to date you.
Right. Man, you just really like dropped some gems on there, man. Like you're breaking stereotypes. Like there's no league, there's no friend zone. Like you're warping my mind. No, but that's really good. Like that's really good stuff that you're saying. So like, all right, so let's get to like the geek stuff. So, I am a geek, and I saw. Okay, back it up. I'm a geek, right? So, it has been very hard for me to try to find like-minded people like myself, well, like-minded women like myself. But the thing is, I remember reading an article of yours that said, "Do not fall in love with the geek girl." So, can you please elaborate on that, and then we'll get back to my stories.
Sure. Well, the thing about don't fall for geek girls doesn't mean don't go for girls who are geeks.
Okay.
It means don't go for the imagined idea of a capital G geek girl. The stereotype of the girl who's got, Ramona Flowers hair and a Zelda Triforce handbag, and she's wearing Hello Kitty shoes or whatnot. Like, going for someone because she represents geekdom, or because dating her makes you special because you're a geek, is a mistake, because you're not dating a person, you're dating a collection of ideas. And when you find out that she is a person who uses the bathroom and picks her nose or whatnot, you're going to be disappointed. She is not your manic pixie dream girl. She is a human like everybody else. And it's dehumanizing to kind of reduce somebody to their interests.
Okay.
Dating someone who shares your interests, on the other hand, is amazing because, like I usually say, despite what Paula Abdul and NC Scat Cat told us, opposites don't really attract.
Right.
We like people who are similar to us.
Yeah.
And sometimes that may be in our interests.
Yeah.
And sometimes it may be in the way that we relate to the things we like. So, like, you may date someone who is not necessarily really into, comics and video games, but loves Rain and loves watching the originals. And so while they may not necessarily know the breakdown of all of the members of the X-Men and how they relate to one another and when they join, she has a similar feeling for like all of the members of the family in the originals, or really like has that love for history, and that's why she really kind of gets into the soap opera of Rain or the Borgias or whatnot. So there, it's not that you share the same interests, but you share the same way of relating to the things that you do love, so that while she may not find the X-Men movies as compelling as you do, she can at least respect and understand why you love them.
Right. Okay. No, because, that sort of bleeds into the next question that I want to ask you, which is, what type of a person should a geek go for? Because myself, all right, so, like, recently I've I don't want to say, well, I guess, I'll say met somebody, but we're not, like, dating or anything like that. We're just being friendly with each other, but I know that she doesn't like, well, I shouldn't say doesn't like, but she isn't into really any of, like, the geek stuff that I'm into, like let's say like the Marvel or the DCEU movies and stuff like that, and I'm a big proponent of those. I've loved like that stuff since Batman the Animated Series, so it's like, okay, I don't necessarily want to force her to like my stuff, but I do want to show her why I'm into those things. But should I even try if she's not, if she's not gonna like those things, because should I try to look for somebody just similar, or should I continue to try and, I guess, convince her of the stuff?
Well, I would say, is she someone who, she may not like the things that you like, but will she respect the fact that you like them? Because I dated a girl in college back in my bad old days, and who it was a toxic relationship. There's no getting around that. And I should never have dated her.
Oh, wow.
But I thought she was the best that I could do, and so, I was like, the main character in the outfield song, not outfield, yeah, I'll think of her name eventually and it'll drive me crazy, but self-esteem, It's like, yeah, the more you suffer, the more you really care.
Right.
And, like, she did not like my hanging out with a lot of my friends because she thought that things like role-playing games was stupid.
Yeah.
And the one time in the entire, 3 years in college that I dated her, that I was allowed, and I stress, allowed, to go hang with my friends and play Mage. We had arranged that I was going to have the full day for this, and then 2 hours into it, she decided, nope, this is stupid, we're going shopping, came and dragged me away.
Oh, wow.
Literally dragged me away.
Wow.
And I admittedly let her. Because I had no boundaries at the time.
How long were you guys going out?
We ended up dating for 4 years.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. Okay, go on.
Formative relationship, that one. So, that is an example of a relationship that should not be, because she was not interested. Not only was she not interested in the things that I was interested in, she was not interested in my being interested in those things. She thought that my liking those things was stupid and something that I would give up eventually, come hell or high water, and if I didn't do it on my own, she would make me.
Right.
So that is the sort of thing that, no, you cannot date someone like that. Or, well, you can, you'll just be miserable. But
Yeah.
if you can find someone who can say, okay, I don't really get the whole role-playing game thing, but, hey, it means that for, once a week, once a month, whatever, you get together with your buddies for the better part of a day. Okay, cool, have fun, I'll go do my thing, we'll meet up afterwards and compare notes.
Right, right.
That, that is a relationship that can work. And the fact that she's not into the stuff that you're into now doesn't mean that she might not get into it because you're into it, and it might go the other way too. You might get into stuff that she likes that you're not into, just because she likes it and you want to give it a shot.
Right.
And there may be ways of finding compromise between the two. Like, she may not be into the Marvel movies, but she might love the hell out of Jessica Jones.
Right. No, you're right. Because I do remember mentioning, because I recently got tickets to what was it? The Legend of Zelda: Symphony of the Goddesses. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going this October. Well, I'm going again. The first time I went last year, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. I have to go again. So I'm going again, and I was telling her, I was giving her a description about like what it is, and me, I'm just fearing like, oh boy, like here am I exposing my geeks stuff, because like Symphony of the Goddesses is really geeky. So I was like, yeah. This is what I'm gonna be doing in October, and I'm just waiting for it, waiting for the other shoe to drop. And she's like, "Oh, that seems pretty cool." And I was like, "Well, what?" I was like, "Oh, okay, that wasn't so bad." And like, that's cool. She accepted that.
Yeah, and honestly, it's music. It's not that different from going to hear like a composer, who like it's not different from hearing Jerry Goldsmith going to direct the symphony for the Magnificent Seven, or for some of his other stuff. It's just that this happens to be from a video game instead of a movie. Yeah. Not seeing the fact that you like something you like as being inferior because it's geeky is kind of a big part of selling it to other people who may not be into it. Because when you come to the table with okay, I have this confession to make, and you're going to think it's kind of weird or kind of horrible, then you're setting the tone for, they're about to tell me that either they're dying of cancer or that there's something horrible in their background that they need to let me know. And it's like, oh, I like music from a video game, and I'm going to go see a symphonic version of it, and then they're going to be like, wait, what? You led me to believe that you gave me cancer, and it's just that you're going to go see a concert. Okay.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, if I went to someone and saying like, hey, so there's this concert coming up, and it's kind of weird, and not really many people are into it, but it's kind of my thing. No one's going to think that's really, really interesting.
Yeah.
But when I go to someone and say, hey, no, my favorite band is coming to town. They are weird as hell, but I love the shit out of it. It's like, what would happen if Yngwie Malmsteen and a 16-year-old goth girl got together and composed music together? then they're like, they're going to kind of vibe more off of my enthusiasm for it and my excitement, and probably pick up a little bit of that excitement themselves, and maybe even be curious.
Right.
I mean, that's how I got my wife into Dragon Force.
Nice.
Like, yeah, we're going to go. It's going to be an awesome time. We are going to thrash, drink beers, pogo up and down, and they're going to be singing about, like, it's going to be all Squeedly versus Weedly and singing about the power of the eternal sun.
That's awesome. So you just mentioned you have a wife?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and is she geeky as well, or are you guys opposites and you attract?
She's geeky. She's just geeky in different ways. She's a major history buff, and she also really likes things like British television. So upstairs, downstairs, the Great British Baking Show,
Downton Abbey.
Not too crazy into Doctor Who ever since the current Doctor became around. But
okay.
Yeah, so she's got the stuff she's geeky about.
Okay, and like
we meet in the middle on stuff like Flash and Riverdale.
Oh right, yeah. Oh, I love Flash. It was funny too. I completely forgot to mention this at the beginning because I remember reading your little blurb about being like an international speaker and stuff, and on your website it says that you've been doing this since 2020. You've been doing this since 2011. I was like, oh, Reverse Flash confirmed.
Yeah, it's a typo that's been on there for long enough and commented on for long enough. I just left it.
Yeah.
People pointed out. I go like, yeah, there's a reason they call me the Doctor.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So where have you gone to speak? Do you like?
I've done talks at universities. Just recently, I did a talk on what I call networking for nerds at the University of Chicago.
Okay.
I've been on. When I wrote an article about gaslighting and calling women "quote unquote" crazy.
Yeah.
It ended up getting picked up and going international, and got picked up by like an Australian newspaper. And so Australian TV, like morning show, kind of like Good Morning America, had me on for a segment.
Okay.
And I've done interviews with like The Guardian and then on Dateline and whatnot. And I also do panels at a lot of conventions.
Mm-hmm.
So just recently did a panel on relationships in pop culture, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Okay.
So talking about it was officially called 50 Shades of Nope. about why stuff in relationships in pop culture can work, but they don't work in reality.
Okay.
So stuff like, here's why if you act like Barney Stinson, you're going to jail. Or why 50 Shades of Grey works as erotica, but is actually really, really distressing and disturbing in real life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Because you can do stories about, non-consensual sex. They call it non-con in romantic fiction.
Okay.
But, where eventually, like she's saying no, but eventually she gets into it. Why? Because it's fiction. You can do that in fiction.
Yeah.
But in reality, that's rape.
Yes.
There is no question that's rape.
Correct.
So, don't be mindful of the stories that you consume and the lessons they teach us. I mean, one of the things that screwed me and an entire generation up is all of us who grew up, who saw Pretty in Pink and identified with Ducky.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And going back and watching it now, it's just cringing after cringing because Ducky's not a sympathetic character.
Right.
He's this whiny little asshole who's just throwing a tantrum every time Andy doesn't give him attention, and complaining about the fact that he's sitting there waiting for her to notice him, whereas at least her, the guy she's dating has made a move and has been flirting.
Right.
And it's like, no, he's an entitled little shit.
So was that the basis of your like nice guy thing?
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then just watch, and so much of that is reflected in pop culture. I mean, Ross in Friends, Ted Mosby in How I Met Your Mother. We see this character all the time, and he is inevitably rewarded in one way or another.
I believe, and I will give one more character. I didn't watch the entire series the whole way through, but I saw that they changed the dynamic, and that was with Dawson's Creek. Dawson did not win. So
yeah, the relationships went in like very different directions. corrections where, Dawson doesn't end up with Joey at the end.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, cool, I can respect that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people like that too. Like, oh, whoa, she ended up with Pacey? Okay, all right. Oh, wow. So how do you I mean, like, we're winding down now, but like, how do you feel starting this in 2001? Like, did you ever suspect that you would be like talking to people, or like, the Australian version of Good Morning America, or talking to people like, why are people listening to me? Like, did you go to school for this, or like, were you just like, I want to speak about this?
Basically, it is all hard-won, like, brutal experience. I do a lot of studying. I stand on the shoulders of giants. So, even having become sort of a dating coach has happened because I read Neil Strauss. But I've also, after that, I also started reading people like Esther Perel, or Christopher Ryan with Sex at Dawn, or Tristan Taormino, or all these other scientists and writers. Terry Connolly, who conducted a study about whether or not women like casual sex and what makes them decide to have sex with somebody.
Right.
Like, reading her studies and understanding, it's like, oh, okay, so yeah, this is why, women aren't necessarily as up for casual sex as men are. It's not because they don't like it. It's because most of the time it's not worth the risk, whether it's the risk of bad sex or the risk of emotional or physical danger. Okay, cool.
Gotcha.
I understand this now. It's not what Mystery taught me. It's not what Tyler Durden from Real Social Dynamics taught me.
Right.
It's other thing entirely.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's awesome. So I want to talk about, I want to list down your books so people can get them. The first one was Simplified Dating, right?
Yes.
And number 2 is When It Clicks, The Guide to Mastering Online Dating, and that was a top seller. And number 3 is New Game Plus, The Geek's Guide to Love, Sex, and Dating. And they're all available?
They are all available. You can get them through Amazon. You can also get New Game Plus from the iTunes bookstore, and from I believe from BarnesandNoble.com.
Okay, cool. And can you say the last one again, please?
Yeah, the last one is It's Dangerous to Go to Alone, a relationship dating survival guide.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so I have one more question. Out of the 4 books, what would you suggest that I pick up? And I will pick it up.
I think it depends mostly on where you want to focus your energy.
Okay.
So for New Game Plus is the total life revival.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the name suggests, it's starting over with the information you have now and starting the new game with things you didn't necessarily have the first time. So you start over and learning not just like how to flirt with people, but dealing with the internal issues, like whether or not you deserve a relationship. Yes, you deserve a relationship.
Yeah.
You deserve to be happy. You do not deserve to have one given to you, but you have the right to earn. You have the right to get one.
Yeah.
And also, here's how you avoid the friend zone. Here's how you avoid dealing with, jealousy because this other person got their relationship. And then working into the skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
Simplified dating is sort of, it's for people who have been dating and putting out a lot of energy, but not necessarily getting the results they want. So it's about focusing on the areas where you get the most return for your initial investment. That is the things that matter the most when you're dating. So like a lot of people worry when they're meeting someone for the first time, oh, hey, I need to know what to say. If I don't have this perfect opening line, they will never be interested in me. And no, the first things that come out of your mouth, as long as it's not something horrifically offensive, are not that important. What's more important is the chemistry you have.
Yeah.
Or whether they have fun with you, or whether or not, whether they kind of you two of you just click, and how can you make that happen? So simplified dating is for fine-tuning for people who have some dating experience under their belt but want to make it more productive.
Got you. Yeah, because for me, I mean, I know that it needs to happen, but like I abhor small talk. Like I don't want to be like, hey, do you have cats? And stuff like that. It's like I want to get to like not the nitty gritty, like how many babies do you want if we get married? Like not like that, but like just what makes you tick. you know. So like I hate small talk. But yes, sorry.
Yeah, so it's this, that then in that case, simplified dating may be for you because it's kind of more about here's how you kind of get to that deeper connection. That sure, we can use small talk as the emotional on ramp, but here's how we get to the meat of the subject. Here's how we really get to know one another.
And New Game Plus, did you describe that already? Or, no, I'm sorry. When It Clicks.
When It Clicks is for people who want to do better at online dating.
Yeah.
And this is one that is probably going to get an update pretty soon because the world of online dating keeps changing, especially now that like Tinder and Bumble are becoming more dominant and OkCupid is starting to take its cues from those.
Yeah.
But it's this is all about here's how you craft a good profile that will get people's attention. Here's how you craft a first message so that, understanding the pressure that women are under on dating sites where they're deluged with shitty messages from people.
Yeah, my co-host gets a lot of crappy messages. Well, she used to. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're lucky. You're in a position where you can actually see some of the stuff she's getting and understand, here's what you don't do. Because if they're lucky, it's just sup. If they're not lucky, it's like, hey, you're really hot, and I'm going to be in town, want to get naked.
Yeah.
I am blessed with a lot of friends who show me the messages they get, and the fact that people thought that these were things to lead with blows my fucking mind.
I know, like, why? Like, why do you think that that's cool to say?
Well, it's somewhere along the line they got some positive reinforcement, whether that was just a what the hell were you thinking?
Yeah.
So they keep doing it, because a reaction is still a reaction.
Yeah.
But yeah, so here's how you, When It Clicks is about, here's how you write a letter, a first-time message to someone that someone will reply to.
Yeah.
Here's how you keep the conversation going. Here's how you take a photo that people will appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
Because, oh God, whenever I go on Tinder or I go on OkCupid and I see some of the photos and of everybody, all I can think was if these are your best pictures, how bad were the others?
Or the angles. You're like, that? Wait a minute. Why are you taking this picture this way?
Which one of you in this photo is you?
Yeah, exactly. Every picture is a group photo. Wait, what? Hold on.
Exactly. Your first photo should be just you by yourself. I should not be having to scroll through your photos to try to figure out who I'm talking to. But nobody seems to get that. That is just universal. That is men and women, gay and straight, and everything in between.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's great. That's awesome. Wow. Yeah, I love all the descriptions. I will definitely be picking one up. And to prove it to you, I will hit you up on social media, which leads to segue. You telling all the listeners, how do we reach you?
Well, you can find me if you search Dr. NerdLove on most social media. You'll find me. I'm on Facebook at facebook.com/Dr. NerdLove. Twitter, the same thing, twitter.com/Dr. NerdLove or at Dr. NerdLove. And I've got an Instagram, which is, as I put it, occasional selfies, mostly cats, which is, you guessed it, Instagram.com/Dr. NerdLove, NerdLove.
Okay, that is awesome. And thank you so much for coming on. You really brought some insight into this whole thing and about the stereotypes of geeks, and that we need to just break that mold. And geeks are everything. I mean, geeks are the ones in Big Bang Theory, but they could also look like jocks or whatever, So thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been great fun.
Yeah, it really was. Thank you so much. So, listeners, now that you know how to find Dr. NerdLove on social media, you can find us on social media as well at bedlovebeyond@gmail.com, or you can go to our website, www.bedlovebeyond.com, or you can give us a call or text us at 201-862-8BED. That is 201-862-8233. Or you can reach us on Facebook, facebook.com/bedlovebeyond, and talk to many of our fans. Also, you can follow us at bedlovebeyond on Instagram, Twitter, Periscope, and also YouTube. Thank you so much, Dr. NerdLove, a.k.a. Harris O'Malley, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you guys next time.